So in the sketch mode, as you can see right here, the grid space is available, and I want to basically create what I see here in part 1 that I created from before for the demonstration purposes. So if I use the viewing cube, I can see this is going to act as the base of the rocket. This will support the body tube and the engine mount, which prevents the engine from sliding out underneath the rocket base itself. Fins are also attached to the base of this rocket. As you can see, this is a 3-fin configuration, and later on you'll be able to see that we can change the configuration of the fins very simply by using the pattern feature, which is up here in the 3D model option as well as the 2D sketch model option. So I'm going to go in here over on the left hand side in the model menu and look at these extrusions just to give you an idea of what we're going to end up with later on. So in the extrusion, first one, I'm going to open up, expand, and then right click on sketch, hit edit sketch, and you can see this is what the first sketch will look like that we're going to start right now. So I'm going to go ahead and start that by going to part 2, back where I was for my demonstration file. Click on the circle tool under the sketch tab that you see right here. Click on the origin. It doesn't matter if you're anywhere around the origin, it doesn't matter. I'm going to just go with the origin just to make it easier on myself to start off with. And I want to enter the dimension. Just type. I don't have to move them. I can move the mouse wherever. I don't need to click. Just type 16, hit enter. Okay, now watch what happens if I'm going to undo, so Control Z. If you made the mistake of clicking once and then clicking again, and you don't know if it was the 16, a simple fix for that, since it's a parametric modeling program, is that you can create the shape and then dimension it later after the fact. So click on the dimension tool, or the keyboard shortcut for the dimension tool is the letter D, as you can see as I hover the mouse over the option. And then I'm going to click on the circle, drag out, and you see that the dimension is set for 16.836. So I would like to change that since it's the numbers are selected. Type 16, hit enter. Okay, finish the sketch. All right, and that's just the circle. I'm not done yet though, so I'm gonna show you now how to return back to the sketch so that I can go back and not create new sketches on top of the old sketch. So right click on sketch, or you can right click on the geometry that was created during that sketch and hit edit sketch. The edit sketch option is found under the right by right clicking on sketch or right clicking on the circle itself. So I need to continue with the circle, and let's go on to our next dimension, which will be 26. So I can take the circle, another circle, right on top of the center mark of the previous one, and make that 26. Enter. Okay, so I have 2 measurements of the circles created, and at this point let's come out and draw the next part. So if I go back to part 1 to look, I'm going to be measuring up 45 from here, and then over 1.5 down, and then over 1.5 down to create the first fin. Okay. Oh, I don't want to close that out. Alright, so take the line, come straight down, and you notice that when I drag the line from that point up, you can zoom in, zoom out using the wheel to mouse. And I know that it's straight by seeing the parallel sign that is indicated right there on the left, right of the mouse pointer. Or in this case, we're using the line tool. That is found up here as well. That's the parallel horizontal constraint or vertical horizontal constraint. These are both parallel options to create our lines or to snap the lines to the parallel constraint. And I'm going to go up the 45 and hit enter. Okay. And then you notice that the next end or the next line segment is connecting off of the last endpoint, and I'm going to measure over 1.5. Sometimes when I do this, it does not make a 90-degree angle between both line segments to make that perpendicular. So you could hit the tab button and then make sure that it is 90 degrees and hit enter. Okay, and now you can see that that perpendicular mark, like the one here, that constraint is now activated. Then I'm going to come straight down and connect. I don't want it to, you have to be careful here. I want it to go straight down but not connect all the way to the edge. I want it to stay straight and parallel. So this part can get a little tricky. There we go. Alright, And then I'm going to come over and do the same thing, going over 1.5 and then down and connect. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to use the trim feature, because we have some lines on here that we no longer need, as well as some dimensions. So I'm going to hit the escape key on the keyboard to get out of the line tool, or I can just deselect the line tool. And then I'm going to, yeah, there it goes, hit escape. And then I'm going to click on the center line here and delete it. And then I'm going to go through and use the trim feature. The trim feature basically allows you to remove areas that either intersect or overlap on the geometry that you're trying to create. And then obviously the extend would be the opposite of that, which would allow you to extend line segments between two endpoints. So we're going to go to trim, and I'm going to trim just this area right here that is in between both those lines. Okay, I'm going to finish the sketch. Actually, before I finish the sketch, I'm going to get out of the trim feature, hit escape, and let's go ahead and do our pattern feature. So for the pattern, I'm going to go up here to the circular pattern, click on that. I want to duplicate the geometry that is right here, and I want that to be over 2 more times. So it'll be a total of 3 times you'll see the fin pattern. Okay, so circular. I need to select just the geometry, so select all those line segments and zoom in using the wheel of the mouse if you need to isolate those 2 individual lines that make up that segment that go across. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 line segments that are highlighted, and I need to select the axis that I will revolve around. Okay, and that's where, you know, making sure that the center mark overlaps with the origin it makes sense, because you don't want to click on the wrong thing. So I'm going to click on the center mark of the circle, which is the green dot. Okay, and you can see, zooming out, that in this current circular pattern option, it's set for 6. I'd rather go with 3. And once I select 3, you'll see that it goes completely 360 degrees around the circle. And you can experiment with this if you want to. There's 4, so it kind of looks like a plus sign. You can do 5, 6, 56. You can see where this comes in handy for other options, for other drawings. But I'm going to go with 3, hit OK, and there it is. Now let's finish the sketch. We're finally done with the sketch. Now we see that I made a mistake. What did I forget to do? Well, I forgot to trim out the rest of these lines that kind of overlap here. So I'm going to right click anywhere on one of the parts of the geometry, hit edit sketch, use the trim feature. The keyboard shortcut for trim is X. Then hit finish sketch, and then I'm going to push pull this out a distance, and we're extruding that essentially. Push pull is a SketchUp term. We're going to extrude that the total distance. I selected the work plane, I selected the geometry, and I'm going to set that to 30. I can enter it here, or I can enter it here. The distance will be the same. Sometimes this extruding option is deactivated. Whichever one you want to use and whichever one you're more comfortable with is fine. Hit OK. And now it's 3D. So we can go back to the front view. We can rotate any side of the viewing cube and bring it back to the plane view, or go like this if we wanted to. Alright, so the last thing I want to do is create the block, the engine mount block, the bottom part, so that the engine does not slide out. So I'm going to start a sketch, this time on this work plane, that highlights on the white lines that go all the way around the geometry. And I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to project the geometry of just the inside circle. That way that's my inside circle that I'm basically borrowing from that 3D object. And then I'm going to create an offset, or create another circle. Those are 2 options. I'm going to create another circle, and I once again make sure that the circle intersects and overlaps, I should say. And we want this inside circle, to be the 19. So 19, hit enter. Okay, and then finish the sketch. Now from here, zoom in, use the extrude option. Select just the interior framework right here, and notice that it wants to create material. We don't want to create this extrusion. We will actually use the extrusion tool to remove material. So I'm going to use the remove or cut, that's this second option, and I want to set the distance to 28 rather than the 30. 30 was the extrusion that we created from before. If we'd go 30, it would cut all the way through. So we want to leave 2 millimeters of distance below, and you'll see how that turns out to be. Hit OK, and then now you can see there's the engine block. Okay. If you zoom in on this from the side view and go to View, Visual Style, Shaded with Hidden Edges, you can actually see where that location is. Okay, and then the engine will then fit in there nice and tight. Okay, so that's the end of this video. This walks you through the first part of the base. In the second video, we'll go over some of the other things like the launch lug and the recovery system shock cord connector.